Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, Life as a Mommy. Today, Gracie and I wanted to share our labor and delivery story with you guys. The first time we met, right, Mama? Right? Say hi. Say hi to everyone. Say hi. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and share that story with you guys. Hope you enjoy, and let's just jump right into it. So I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet so that she doesn't wake up. Um, But yeah, on May 25th, I woke up to use the restroom as I normally would. And while walking over to the restroom, I noticed that I was getting some drips down my legs. And so I immediately thought that, okay, I must be peeing on myself. I go into the restroom, sit on the toilet, and as I'm sitting there, the drops, are continuing to come down. And I can't control it. So then I think, okay, well, this must be my water that just broke. So again, this is around 7 a.m. I walk over to my husband, tap him to get up, and I'm like, babe, I think my water just broke. So he wakes up all confused and he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, I think my water just broke. And he's like, no, there's no way because you're still about 3 weeks early. So then he goes, okay, just call your doctor and, page your doctor and see what they say. So I paged my doctor, of course, and he calls me back and I explained to him what's going on. And he tells me, go in, check into labor and delivery, have them check you out. And if you are having your baby today, either myself or an associate will meet you there and we'll have this baby. So I'm excited. I had already had my bags packed maybe a week or two prior. And I was just so excited that this might be the day that I get to meet my baby girl finally. So my husband and I immediately get out of bed. I'm holding and hugging and kissing my son before I leave because this would be the first time I'm leaving him for a night or two. And I'm just loving him up because this might this may be the last time. It'll be just you and me and Daddy. And so it was a little emotional for me, I think. But yeah, we finally get to leave the house and check into labor and delivery. I get hooked up onto monitors and they're checking baby's heart rate. They go ahead and put me on a monitor and have to do the ultrasound. And as they're doing the ultrasound, the nurse goes, well, looks like, everything is still intact. Your fluids are still there. Baby looks fine. It doesn't look like this is your water that broke. So I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, it's very common around, 8-9 months. Women start to experience excessive discharge or a weak bladder, causing them to pee on themselves. And I'm looking at her like she's crazy because I'm like, no, I know the difference, and it's neither. I'm pretty sure this is my water. So she goes, okay, there's one more test that we can take. It's a little bit more, invasive. It'll take about 2 hours for us to get the results back, but bear with us. Let us do this one last test and see what it is. So she goes out. She takes, she does the swab. She goes out, come back in another 15 minutes, and then she goes, oh, yep, that truly was your water that broke. So we're going to have this baby today. And I'm like, duh, like I knew that was my water all along. So she goes, go ahead, call your family, call your friends, let them know what's going on. Of course, I'm, since that morning when I noticed the water breaking, I was on the phone with my sister, I was on the phone with my mom, letting them know what's going on. So at this point, everyone's pretty much aware of what's going on. So my doctor finally comes in. So my doctor walks in and she's like, okay, we're getting the OR room ready by 12 noon today. You should have your baby girl. And I'm like, OR? Yeah, she's like, well, yeah, you were scheduled to have a C-section anyway, so, baby decided to come in a little bit earlier, and we're just going to have the C-section earlier. And I'm like, no C-section. I don't want to have a C-section again. The first time I had a C-section was because my son was breech, his head was up. But this baby, Grace, was already positioned, her head was down. And I didn't want to have a C-section if I didn't have to. So I asked her, do I really need to have a C-section? Is there any way I can just push this baby out? And she's like, okay, well, given your medical history, I have lupus and I also have like funky blood clotting issues. So she's like, with your history, it's best for us to just go ahead and have a C-section. And I'm like, yeah, I understand all that, but I can also have this baby vaginally, correct? And she's like, yeah, um, it is possible for you to have this baby vaginally. So I'm like, okay, well, let's go for it. That's what I want to do. There's no way in that I can have a C-section again. I just couldn't do it now with two babies. And so she says, well, I do have other patients that I can see. The only way you can have this baby vaginally is if your body starts to pretty much start the labor process on its own. Meaning I would have to start contracting on my own and dilating on my own. The only way they can induce me is, once I've started contracting and dilating on my own and I reach up to 4 to 5 centimeters of dilation, then they can speed up the whole process by inducing me with Pitocin. So I say, okay, let's try it. She's like, however, your water just broke. We can't leave this baby in much longer, but I am going to go see other patients. I'll come back in 2 to 3 hours to check on you and see if anything's happening. So I'm like, okay, go ahead and let's just do that. So I'm there in the room. Nothing's happening. I'm not, I feel fine. I'm not in pain. I'm not contracting. I'm not dilated. I think I'm talking too loud. So here I am in the room. I am not contracting. I am not dilated, and my body's supposed to do this on its own. So the nurse comes in and she just, she talks to us and she's telling us, well, in the past I've seen that if you're on your feet, you're dancing, you're walking around, you're moving, it'll start something, stir something up, and you'll start contracting, and your body should start doing what it's supposed to do. So she just encouraged me to get up and walk and dance and talk, and that I did. So for about 2 or 3 hours, I was doing that. I was just walking, talking. I stayed on my feet, and I started to feel a little bit of, I wouldn't say it wasn't painful, but I started to feel kind of crampy, and it wasn't like a steady cramp. It would come and it would go. So she would come back in and she'll say, did you feel that? That was a contraction. So at that point, I started to contract. It wasn't close. I was probably contracting maybe one time every 30 minutes, like twice an hour. But I was definitely contracting because she can see it. She was able to read it on a monitor. So around 12 noon, the doctor comes back. They check me. They do a cervical check. And at that point, I am now dilating. So at that point, I think I was about 1.5 centimeters. And she's like, okay, well, looks like, things are happening. However, we can still do this C-section if you like, to just have this baby, or we can wing it out and see if your body does what it has to do. But I would say by 4 or 5 p.m. today, if you're not where we need you to be, you're definitely gonna have to have a C-section. So I say, okay, I still want to wing it out. I'm going to continue walking. Hopefully my contractions, come closer apart and my dilation is progressing. So she leaves and she let me know that, she's going home for the day, but another doctor will come in. Another doctor comes in. She introduces herself as well as her staff. She came with her own staff. And she says, okay, well, I understand that you want to have a VBAC. Now, a VBAC is a vaginal birth after C-section. So she goes, I understand you want to have a VBAC. And I say, yes, I definitely want to have a VBAC. I don't want to have a C-section if I don't have to. So she said, okay, well, since your body started doing this, let's continue with this process and see if you dilate any, wider. So they were coming back every 2 hours to do a cervical check to see how far I'm dilated. And around, I would say 4 p.m., I was at least at 4 centimeters. So at that point, they were able to start with inducing labor, meaning, making my contractions come closer apart and allowing me to dilate faster. So they give me what's called Pitocin, which is to induce your labor. And once they gave me the Pitocin, the contractions were coming, and they were coming fast, and they were so painful. I mean, I can't even describe the pain I was feeling, but it was so painful. And at that point, all I want is the epidural. I'm like screaming and shouting, where is the epidural? Where's the I need it now. I need it now. So the doctor come in and they say, okay, well, the anesthesiologist is coming in and they're, I'm signing papers to get this epidural. Once I get the epidural, which was not that bad, it was heaven sent at that point to me, because for the amount of pain that I was feeling and going through, the epidural was nothing. And a lot of people talk about how scary that getting epidural shot is. It's really not that bad considering the pains that, the pain that I was getting from the contractions. And so once that came, I mean, we were best friends. I just loved the epidural. I was just, after getting it, I was chill. I was just laying in bed and I was just fine. I didn't feel anything from waist down. So they kept coming every 2 hours, and for a long time I stayed at 4 centimeters, and I'm like, oh my gosh, nothing is happening. And of course, every time the doctor comes in, she's letting me know the option of going into the OR is still open. And I'm still like, no, I don't want to do this. I just, at that point, I just trusted my body. I had a C-section previously. I felt like I just couldn't have another C-section again. I just couldn't. And as a woman, you kind of want to go through the whole process of delivering a baby vaginally and not, being cut open and the baby, ripped out of you. So I wanted to actually go through the process. Yes, it was tough. It was hard, but I wanted to go through the process, and I'm so happy I did. Anyway, I was 4 centimeters for a long time, and I would say around 8 p.m. doctors came back, and I was 7 centimeters or 6 around 8 o'clock. Yeah. So you're like, okay, at this point, I'm still not feeling, I mean, I do feel pressure, but it's not, it's not pressure that I couldn't handle. It wasn't painful or anything. So that from there on, they just kept coming every hour, and every hour my dilation centimeters would increase. It would go up one. And so by around 10 p.m. is when I started to feel pressure. I mean, I felt like I wanted to push. Like, you feel like you want to go into the bathroom and have a number two. That's how I was feeling. And I just kept telling the doctor, I feel the pressure, but I'm starting to feel pain. Is this epidural wearing off? I'm pretty sure it's wearing off because I'm feeling pain. And she's telling me, no, it's just the pressure you're feeling. I'm like, no, lady, I'm in pain right now. So, she just, I think what they did was fill my my IV bag or whatever I was hooked up to. They added morphine to it, and every time I felt the pain that she called pressure, to just press it for a dose of morphine or whatever it was, but it wasn't working. I was still feeling a lot of pain. It was exorcist all over again in that room because I was just going crazy. My back was going up and I was jerking up and down, and I was just telling him, I feel like I gotta go. Can we push now? Can we start pushing? And she's like, you're not there yet. You're not there yet. Around 11 p.m., my mom comes in from work to meet us at the hospital. And at that point, I'm about 9 centimeters. And again, I'm in so much pain, and I'm still wondering if this epidural wore off, and they're telling me it did not. And, it was just crazy. At 12 is when they came back to check me. And at that point, I was 10 centimeters and ready to push. So all I could think of at that point was, I did it. We made it this far. Tunnel vision. Next thing to come is baby. So at 12 o'clock, I'm ready to push. And with every contraction, they had me push and, count to 10 as you're pushing, and, you're just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. So at that point, as I'm pushing, I just felt like there was no progress. And although the doctors and the nurses were great and they're telling me, you're doing wonderful, we see the baby's head, they even encouraged me to touch down there to feel the baby's head. And I'm like, no, I don't want to touch it. I just need to push this baby out. So I'm pushing and pushing and pushing. Around 12:15, I'm like getting tired. I was this close to just saying, let's go into the OR. I can't take this. Let's just have the C-section and get it over with. So 12:15, they're like, no, the baby's head is right there. The baby's head is right there. And of course, my husband is trying to look, and I'm telling him, you better not look down there. You better stay up here, hold my hands, and don't look. And my mom is like, I see her. You're so strong. And around 12:30, I'm still pushing, and at that point, I'm tired. I'm in pain. I'm like, look, please, let's go into the OR. And the lady's like, no, you're going to do this now. You can do it. So at that point, I just got so upset. I was getting so frustrated. I'm like, let's just do this one last time. I just gave it one last push, and baby Grace was here. She was here. And I was just so happy. I just remember just closing my eyes and praying and thanking God that I made it. Like, we made this. Baby Grace is here. I was just so happy that I trusted my body. A lot of times the doctors want to encourage you to do C-sections when you really don't have to. And honestly, I just think it's, number one is, they get paid a lot more for, a surgery, and they just want to hurry up and go on to the next patient. And so I wasn't having that. I just said, I want to push this baby, and I'm happy that I went with my instincts and I was able to actually push my baby out. And I can say that I've gone through that. So I was just so happy. Grace was 5 pounds, 7 ounces. She was about 19 inches long, and she was a beautiful, healthy baby girl. And my husband was just so excited. I remember just him just going over to the table where she was at and just taking pictures and holding her, while my mom is still holding my hands and telling me how happy and proud she is of me. It was just a wonderful experience. I would do it all over again if I had to. Um, but yeah, that's my labor and delivery story. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thanks for watching. Bye.